to make the situation calm, to de-escalate. Now, I get it, that's not always the case. We were just talking about school shooters. I'm not going to show up to a school shooter and say, excuse me, sir, would you please stop doing that? That's not nice.
Yeah, negotiations are over, we're not doing that.
Yeah, that's not what we're talking about. But in most situations, my mind is connected to my mind. And so most people will agree that you catch more flies with honey than vinegar. And so if I show up, and maybe you're in a little car accident with him, you two have had a little fender bender, and you're a little upset, it's too hot outside, and you just bought your new car, and he just bounced into it, and you're all frustrated, right? Okay? If we show up and we say, please, and thank you, and sir, and our voice is calm, then that helps you become calm, right? And we work on that. Now, but you're also asking about, like, our other tools. And yes, we do carry guns. We do carry tasers that have the electric dart. Yeah, right?
Yeah, we got those.
We have pepper spray, and that is the worst thing in the world. Do you even use it?
No, I haven't used mine since 2020.
Yeah. Once you get some...
2001, I'm not kidding.
In certain areas, we train to hit the legs or the arms so that it's pain compliance. If somebody's doing something really bad, but they aren't so bad that you could use deadly force, that we have to use something less, right? So those are some of our tools. Yes, sir. The question is my gun a Glock? The answer for me is yes. I don't know about.
Yes, mine also is a Glock.
But some of us carry different kinds. It's whatever our preference is, right? That's within our policy.
Mine's a Glock 17.
Same thing. Yes, right over here.
Yeah, she had a question that how long the police force has been on Earth?
Oh, okay,
We're
well,
going back to like Roman times and things like that.
well, yeah, so that's a fantastic question. There's almost always been some part of the community that is reserved for keeping everybody safe. And maybe those are soldiers, or maybe they're watchmen, sometimes they're called that, or some type of guardian, right? But modern policing is really a product of both London, England, and New York City, where they began to develop our true profession, and there's a history there. There's a gentleman in England called Sir Robert Peel, and he created some principles of how we act, and his ground laying principle is that we don't do it by ourselves, we do it with you. So, over here.
Hi, so a couple of questions. So first one is what are some of the red flags that you can see, and especially for young children who go in school and stuff, they are very maybe hesitant or they don't even remember things in school. So what are some of the red flags that you can see from in their community or in their school that they can tell you, and then you can say like, oh, if something is worrying about that, we should maybe raise it to the teachers, to the school authorities and stuff. So that's the first one. And then the second one is like, these are some of the hard conversations that you typically don't have in your day-to-day, like as a young parents of young children. So what are some of those maybe pointers or some of the drills or some, because children are not trained for it, right? These are some of the very, usually when you see these on TV or news and some incidents happening, you usually not just for the young minds, you don't really tell them. You just show them that something bad happened, then you don't go into the details. But when you're telling in these situations that something bad has happened, but you also want them to prevent or be prepared for it if something happens. So what are some of those points that you can do as a parent on the dinner table that let's talk about these, and if something happens, you can do a drill at home, or if there is some drill ongoing that maybe you can participate or something.
Okay, so I'll go first if that's okay.
Sure.
So that's a fantastic question, and I feel that I'm very well situated to answer at least part of it, because I've been a police officer for over 20 years, and my wife has been a school teacher for over 20 years. And our children went to school, and so we have that understanding of, from dad and law enforcement and from mom and a teacher, what is it that we discussed with our children? So first and foremost, I would say that the best way for individual children to avoid problems, the first thing we say is avoid problems, is to have a strong home. Okay, so parents that are involved and that care. So you're already asking the questions about, well, how do I then have these conversations? So using you as an example, you're engaged, you're thinking about this, you want to care. I mean, you do care, you want to figure out how to solve that problem. So that's the first step, is having an engaged home. And then the next step from there is to find a way, and it's going to be different for every home, but for us, we had very frank conversations sometimes. The school would sometimes present difficult topics such as violence or certain types of health education, right? And it was always age appropriate, but my children still saw the news. They still saw that there were school shootings. They still saw that something bad was happening. And so one way that we could have a discussion, if you chose to do the same, is you could get online, you could buy your child a backpack that is somewhat bullet resistant, right? I'm not going to call anything bulletproof, but they make backpacks that children can wear that would help save their lives in a school shooting situation. And then you could say, hey, I got this backpack for you. Take a look at it, holds all your stuff, but it would make me feel comfortable if you wore this one, and if you knew how to use it. Let's watch the little video, because you never know if something bad's going to happen to you. And there's a little bit of fear as parents, right? We don't want to open the closet door and point in and say, there's a monster hiding in the closet, and then the kid is scared forever. We don't want that. But we also want to be realistic and teach them that sometimes bad things happen to good people. Let's talk about, what do you think you could do to keep it from happening? And if you have these conversations, you might be surprised that your child might say, well, I'd run away. Well, great, there's the first part of run, hide, fight, right? And they say, yes. Then you have the conversation, well, what if you can't run away? Then what would you do? Ooh, I'd hide. Okay. And then you talk about what good hiding is, and that's how you go like that. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, just a little more. Some of the warning flags we see on the road, the schools and things like that, is monitor kids on social media. We're seeing lots of bullying. We're seeing lots of problems. We're seeing it's not just social media. It's video games. We're seeing lots of threats over video games and things like that, and that stuff tends to fester. If you start seeing those types of red flags, maybe your child is you pay attention to your child, he's doing great in school and all that, he's happy-go-lucky, and all of a sudden you start seeing signs of depression, he doesn't want to go to school anymore, he's being bullied. I'd say keep an eye on that social media page, what they're looking at whenever you're not around, or their cell phones, because we're seeing a lot of, probably almost daily, we get calls of threats at, pick your school, any one of the 5 high schools or junior high schools or whatever going on in the city of Chandler. And a lot of these threats and problems of bullying are products of social media, cell phone usage, video game usage, and they can communicate now through video games on Xbox. So I would say that if you start seeing, your child was that age and he was fine, and all of a sudden he's kind of withdrawn, he's not going to soccer practice anymore, he's not interested in doing that extracurricular activities, you're starting to see behavioral changes. That's one of your red flags that I'd probably start looking into.
And I'm going to 100% agree with this, and I'm not going to tell you what to do in your homes. I'm going to tell you what happened in my home. But I came in the room one day, and my son was playing a video game. He was younger, I would say maybe 7 or 8, and there was a game that looked cartoonish, but it was somewhat violent still. And it was where his character was a robber, and he had to beat up or shoot all the policemen and make away with all the money. So, I don't know what it is, but you do. Okay, so I thought to myself, well, I don't know if I like that, right? I didn't have to say anything. Mom beat me to it. And she asked him, she wasn't very harsh, but she said something along the lines of, what's that game? Oh, it's this game, I do this. And she's like, okay. And what are you doing to the policeman in that game? Oh, I hit him and I stab him and I shoot him.
That is offensive.
She says, well,
That's
what do you
offensive.
think your dad thinks about that? And then he looked at me and he hadn't thought about it. He didn't, he was a little kid, he didn't think about it. And so he's like, I don't think this game's very nice. And so he looks at me and he says, I'm sorry, Dad. I said, it's okay. I said, why don't we find a fun game that we can play together? And so that's how that changed. And in our house, we didn't play any more games like that. I didn't have to bring down the hammer. I didn't have to send him up to his room. Nobody had to yell. Just a little bit of good old-fashioned motherly guilt, right? And that's how we address that. But Jeff is right. Those warning signs are often in our hands, as adults or children. Social media isn't just a poison for children. It can also be a poison for the adults who still haven't learned how to use it. All right, any other questions? Let's go here first because you haven't asked me. Yes, sir.
Has there ever been like a situation where there were two crimes at once?
Two crimes in one?
All the time, yes. It divides our resources for sure. So if we had a crime that happened right here, we'd send 3 or 4 people over here, depending on what it is. If it happened over at the mall, we'd send another group of officers over to the mall. So we have plenty of staffing for multiple, even if it's a critical situation. It could be a stabbing in a serious car accident where somebody passes away. We'd have resources to deal with all the incidents at the same time.
And that's Jeff's biggest job. We
Yes.
call Jeff a watch commander, which means during a period of time during the week for the whole city of Chandler, his responsibility is to make sure that there are police officers available to go to whatever emergency there is. And then he'll go to whatever he thinks needs his attention, and he'll find out, oh, we might need some more, or we have too many. He'll send somebody to another thing. We couldn't manage our resources without Jeff. So thank you, Jeff.
Of course.
All righty. Yes, young lady. The question is, if I have a gun, why do I need a taser? Well, let me think if I can find a good way to answer this question. Have you, well, I'm not going to ask you because I don't want you to embarrass yourself in front of everybody, but I will say this. My son, when he was little, I one time caught him. He had pushed a chair over to the refrigerator, put a stool on top of the chair, put something on top of the stool, and he climbed up so that he could get some cookies, right? Now, he wasn't supposed to be eating those cookies, so he got in a little bit of trouble, right? I can't remember what we did. I don't know if we put him in timeout or whatever, I don't know. But my son also one time was about to stick something in the light socket, a fork in the light socket with electricity, okay? I do remember on that occasion, I didn't even think. I yelled no, I ran over, I smacked his hand because I wanted that fork to be as far away from that light socket as possible, and he was crying, and I was worried because I don't know what was just about to happen to him, and so I have two situations. A little boy stealing some cookies, and a little boy that could have electrocuted himself to death. And in one of them, I was very quick, I was very mean, I was very scary, I was like, there was no question that I would do that again. But if I ran over and smacked him off the stool for trying to steal a cookie, that would be a little bit too much, don't you think? Right? Well, that is sometimes why we have different tools. Some people will do something that is very, very dangerous and very, very deadly, and that is what might need a gun. But they might do something that is less dangerous, where you only need a taser, or even less dangerous, where we just need to grab them with our hands. And so we can't just go to the worst thing every time. We have to look at the scenario and make our best judgments. So does that answer your question? All right. Who hasn't asked a question yet? This one right here.
Alright, so I have two questions. So the first one is like, what if like there's like a school shooter and like you're hiding in a classroom and like when there's like some doors that you could just go out like of the school, you can exit the school. So like, what would they should like? If I was in that situation, should I just go out of the school, or should I stay?
Well, here's the problem with that one.
Or fight. And if, like you're saying, if you've got nowhere to run and you've got nowhere to hide, then fight. Try to fight, get away. You're not fighting them to beat them. You're fighting them for an opportunity to run away. I don't care if you beat them, and our job is to take them to jail or put handcuffs on them. That's not your job. Your job is to make it hard for them to hurt you so that you can go somewhere else, right? Young lady.
So I have a question. To add on to that, so I was wondering, what if someone is really good at fighting, say like Taekwondo, and then this roundhouse gets them to death? What should you do? Like, who should you arrest? The dead shooter or like the kid?
So,
I always look at it this way. You might think you're really good at Taekwondo, but there's always somebody else that's bigger and better than you. So you never know. There's always people that think they're really good at the martial arts, but there's always people that, even for us, we're trained to do a lot of that kind of stuff. There's always somebody bigger and badder than us sometimes. It takes multiple people to take care of that
It's
person.
just a scenario.
okay, well, in your scenario, if a super awesome student kicks the bad guy into the next world, we're not going to arrest your super awesome
So we'll
student.
give you a medal. How's that?
That's right. Okay, we've got just a couple more minutes. Any other questions? Yes.
Why were guns made?
I don't know the answer. The question is, why was guns made? Probably, I hope it was so that they could feed themselves somehow. I don't know, but probably not.
I'm pretty sure it was a harmless invention. Its purpose was to be a harmless invention.
So if suppose you're in like a school and you're like surrounded and you don't know how to fight, you don't know how to you can't run away, you can't hide. What do you do if you don't know how to fight? What do you do?
Well, if it were me, I would probably say some type of prayer and learn how to fight right away.
Please let me know coming through right now, please.
I will tell you this, so here's an interesting story. When we train police officers, they go to the police academy, they go through scenarios, and they come to us and we teach them some training. But, so when you're new at anything, you'll make some mistakes. And so if you're training a new police officer, we can allow them to make all sorts of mistakes so that we can train them and make them better. But the biggest problem that we might have is if a police officer just freezes and does nothing. No decision is most of the times worse than the wrong decision because it could mean somebody gets hurt. And so, not to make light of the situation, but if you find yourself just in the worst situation ever, you have to decide to do something. And you have to dig down deep and figure out what's going to motivate you. For me, it would be to go home and see my family that night, right? And I will do whatever I can to fight my way through and get home.
Anything is better than nothing.
Suppose sometimes that you just start dodging and if you just start dodging or you just hit their back.
Well, it depends on the situation, but if I'm talking about being a
Because
student in
if someone
school,
comes at you, you dodge.
then I run
You just
away.
run.
Okay, last question right here.
Does it work to play dead?
You know what? That's a very good question. Does it work to play dead? And if you take a look at a number of scenarios in a number of workplaces or schools or other type of situations, many people have survived by pretending to be dead. So if you think that you've got no other option, like, I can't get up and run away because they'll shoot me. There's nowhere to hide because I'm in the middle of the cafeteria or the library. I got nothing to fight with. That is actually not a bad option. So that's still a plan. It looks like you're doing nothing, but your plan is to try to trick them into going away, to leave you alone. All right. So I want to first say thank you very much for your attention, for your participation, for all of your questions. again, we can't do this without the community. I'll be back with another colleague next month. We're going to have a discussion about what we're calling just cyber security, cyber safety for now, how to keep yourselves and your families safe in the digital world. And then, of course, it's my great honor to come back and visit you in a few weeks for your festival. I would try to pronounce it. I'll probably mess it up. John Mastmi. I'm trying. But so, I'll turn the time back over to you guys, and thank you very much for having us. We very much appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
There's something that caught many of our attention, and that was the first and most important weapon is your mind. And it's something that we've been studying, right? Bhagavad Gita, it's our book of instructions for many years. And what does that say? We use your mind. And our mind is intelligence. So we are using our intelligence to see how we're going to control our mind and how are we going to control our senses. In this way, how are we going to react, right? So you see how everything is connected. And we are all connected. And thank you for being our policeman. That was wonderful. But just like they care for us, we should care for them. We should care for everyone. We are all here. We are all members of one community. We are not individual just because, okay, we are just from HCON, or we are going from XYZ or ABC. No. If we get caught, we're not to be the same. So we are all have to be caring, have that caring disposition. If we see a child that is in danger, well, what is the father? No, let's go and help that child first, and then locate the father or the mother. And by the way, this is a good opportunity for me to remind you that we have a policy, child protection policy in place, and that you can read. I'm not going to take much of your time, but you can read in the hallway. And that includes that children under 12 are not to be left alone anywhere. Somebody came to tell me, and that's, well, you know, this is a temple, they're safe. Maybe you can tell them how safe they can be anywhere. No, we don't have guarantees. There are places around here, there are trucks. It would take just 1 second, maybe 2. And please correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're correct.
So we have to make sure that we pay attention for those things. The cell phone, whoever is calling, texting, can wait. And I'm now talking to you guys. Trust me, we were in your age once upon a time. And nothing happened to us because we didn't have cell phones, so we didn't have to reply to the chat or the WhatsApp or this thing. No. And we had less stress at that time. There was stress, but not the kind of stress that we have. We had something called Telegram. It's like, it was your text, you just have to pay a little bit for that. Okay? But we were able to connect with each other. So that's what I'm trying to say here. This program is part of our Invest in Our Children program. And what is that investment? Invest first and foremost time.
त्यज मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वां सर्वपापेभ्यो मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः. Abandon all varieties of dharma and simply surrender unto me. I shall liberate you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Mamekam Saranam Praja. What does this mean? For upholding dharma, personally, I feel that I am answerable to Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Whatever I do, if I can stand before Bhagavan Sri Krishna and talk with confidence and with very good energy about what I have done, then definitely I have fulfilled my dharma. But why Bhagavan Sri Krishna? Because Bhagavan Sri Krishna uplifts dharma in every walk of life over youth. We all know those from all the stories of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, Sri Ram, and lot more. Visiting ISKCON in Vrindavan was a special treat to me. I had darshan of Sri Radha Krishna in Vrindavan. I had the saubhagya of attending Tulsi Puja, morning aarti. I participated in ecstatic kirtans. I danced for the bhajans. A lot of these memories are still fresh in my mind. With every passing day, I felt very close to the place, as if it was my own native place. Leaving the place and coming back was very difficult for me because there was this sweet longing, and the longing stayed here. Today, I want to thank ISKCON Phoenix for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, Mataji, for sharing this loving feeling that is still lingering in my heart. At ISKCON Vrindavan, I should specially mention that one of the most inspiring aspects was to visit Srila Prabhupada's museum. The 32 years he spent preparing to come to the United States to awaken Krishna consciousness in all of us here. The long, arduous ship journey he has done from India all the way to the west to come to New York, surviving 2 heart attacks. After coming here, during one of the most magnificent Rath Yatras in San Francisco, writing over 100 plus books, touring over 14 plus countries, establishing 800 plus ISKCON temples all over the world, traveling around the globe 14 times. All this for all of us Krishna Bhaktas to have this system that awakens Krishna consciousness in each of us. To me, personally, I think I want to Srila Prabhupada to share some of these sweet feelings with my fellow devotees here, because over the years, the system that he established, ISKCON, showed me the path, the direction to bhakti. May Krishna consciousness be always with us. I would like to conclude my talk with a couple of lines that are very special to me from Bhagavad Gita.